step forward.
Hello. Welcome to the Then and Now podcast. Wait, what's going on?
I just made a discovery about like the Persona music compared to Smile Bomb. Like it's the notes actually hit right. Like that's what makes up that intro. It makes
Stop
sense
that
now.
shit. That's some
It
blasphemous.
makes sense now.
That's blasphemous as hell.
Come on now. We know Smile Bomb is one of the greatest intros ever, but like she was completely off key that entire time. So like since I have to address that.
That's that's him. We'll leave that on him. I don't know if Ethan is feeling like getting crucified today.
You feel the same way. We've talked about You know the Yu Yu Hakusho intro.
I do know the Yu Yu Hakusho intro. I do know that is that Yu Yu Hakusho intro is ears.
I'm hanging you niggas out to dry. Anyway, welcome to the Then and Now podcast. It is I, your co-host, Mr. C Diesel, aka Mr. Yellowbelly. I'm here with my esteemed co-host, Mr. Lelouch V, aka Otis East, aka Mr. Stank Meaner. We have Mr. King of the Comics. He's really. Anyway, he's the OG. He's real. I'm just like, it's not like a lot. Like, he's the OG. You know what I mean? Seafood. Anyway, how you guys feeling? Y'all feeling all right?
I'm pretty
doing good, man.
Great.
Doing good. Yeah. Doing all right. How you feeling? How you feeling there, Diesel?
I'm good. I'll be better once I get all these damn homeworks and all these final papers and stuff done and out the way.
Right on.
All right.
I'm excited about today. What we're doing today. Today's topic is gonna be a politically charged one. Gonna be some
politically charged.
Politically, I mean, trust me. When it gets into the
there
MCU,
is one particular movie that is politically charged in there, and it actually is in my the number that we're going. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Interesting. Y'all just won't be satisfied till we get canceled on the show.
That's my goal.
We're not even at 1,000 yet.
2022 is to get canceled everywhere I go outside. But the thing is, people love. I mean, when it comes down to like top 10 lists or just like talk about movies, people have opinions, and their opinions are right, and your opinion is wrong. You know how this stuff happens.
Yeah, we're terrible human beings for believing what we believe. Anyway. Today, for people tuning in today, you came for one reason and one reason only, and that is for us to give you our top 10 MCU movies. So for people that are here, we're going to split this into two parts, because if you watched it in our podcast before, you know how big our tangents are and how long they go on for. So we thought it'd be best for us to do our bottom half first, and then next week on the debut or a little bit after the debut of Multiverse of Madness, we will conclude with our top 5, and that may be in our top 5. We'll see. It may possibly for me.
It might sneak my way in. It might sneak its way in. It might. Yeah. We'll see.
It's possible.
Same Raimi Unchained, so we'll see how it goes.
Right.
All right. So for the gameplay, you guys know with the live stream, we normally have a gameplay going on, and for people that let me take this.
I got you.
Appreciate it. For people that are unfamiliar with what this game is one of my favorite games of all time. Me as an adolescent child, me and my little brother played this game for hours on end, and this is what really made me a Marvel fan. It introduced me to all kinds of aspects of the MCU. Well, not MCU, but it's Marvel, the Marvel universe in the comics beforehand. I
don't think the MCU existed when this dropped. Actually.
No.
Because that was in 08 when Iron Man 1 came out, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this was like 05?
Yeah, I think Alliance 3 may have been around during the MCU.
Alliance 3 came out within like the last 3 to 4 years.
Is that when it came out? So then it was. Yeah.
So it was Alliance 2, probably like a little bit around.
Yeah, that was around that time.
Yeah.
It's dope though. I love this game. This game's dope. Maybe I'll do a video on it at some point in the future on the actual YouTube channel. But yeah, to get into our top 5, I guess I'll kick it off with my number 10. And my number 10 is slightly controversial. Let me turn the volume down on this a little bit.
Yeah. I'm hearing volume again.
Yeah. Okay. So my top 10, number 10. For me, this is a pick that is difficult for me. I really desperately want to have it higher than what it is because of what it meant to me and my culture. But if you look at it as an objective movie, it just wasn't as good as people think it is.
Yeah.
And that is Black Panther. Black Panther is my number 10 movie. It does make my top 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what's interesting. Do we do it if so Dev mentioned what was his number 10? If there's commonalities, do we both address them and then decide to
Yeah, I say so.
wait,
Yeah,
and then like do.
I mean, that's how we're gonna make up this hour. My guess, because I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some arguments here.
Most likely.
yeah, there'll be some arguments. So
Just
what we can
give
do
your
before
reasoning.
we discuss. So Dev's number 10 is Black Panther.
Like,
I have Black Panther higher up on my list. What if we hold off and discuss Black Panther?
Oh, you have a
once-
higher up on your list?
Yes, not high, not crazy. I mean, it's my number 9.
Interesting.
It's
Okay.
my number 9.
Okay.
It's my number 9.
Okay.
So we can discuss it now. Then it's my number 9.
all right.
Got you. Okay.
Let's talk Black Panther.
Okay.
Which okay. So for me, obviously, when it comes to a movie and my favorite movies, any movement like Black Panther that like literally is like an event, like a cultural event, especially for Black people, all Black cast, well not all Black cast, but predominantly Black cast, Black director. It meant a lot to everybody. It was like for a lot of kids that did not have that superhero. I knew about Black Panther because of this game in particular is when I became a fan. But for kids that are younger and didn't have this game or any other portrayals of the character, at that movie gave them a Black superhero role model. They could say, "Hey, he looks like me," and it was a whole event. Then the music, it was everything. It's not even just the movie itself; it's everything about the movie that was in it and that happened around it that made it be in the top 10 for me in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, I can respect that. My Black Panther is in my number 6. We'll get to that when we get up that high. But the movie Black Panther, I guess it's number 11 for me because I don't hate the movie. I don't think it's bad, but like it has some of the worst animation that we've seen in the entire MCU.
The CGI stuff.
Yeah, like it was bad. There's no question that Michael B outshined T'Challa in that movie. So like you don't really get like a whole lot from the superhero in development, in my personal opinion. Like it was Killmonger's movie. So like I mean I got some issues with it. I do enjoy the movie, and I've seen it multiple times. I can't say that about every MCU movie called Thor Ragnarok. But no. It's not in my top 10. It's number 11. I'll give it number 11.
I'll give you that.
So-
I'll give you that.
Yeah. So what I'll say for Black Panther is, I know what you mean as far as how it can be a cultural event and how it was. I mean, the movie made over $1 billion. It was a big, huge hit. It also was the first MCU film to be nominated for an Oscar. So it was a massive milestone, and it touched a lot of people, very strongly. But as far as an actual film in and of itself, it does have some problems. Like some of the actual the fight scenes are just kind of hard to watch. The CGI is just almost so rubbery. I do think that Chadwick Boseman. I mean, yeah, Michael B. Jordan is a very kind of steals the show in lots of ways, but still, I still think that what's fun about Chadwick Boseman's portrayal of T'Challa is a hero that is changed by the villain. By the end of the movie, because of what Killmonger brings to light, it does affect how T'Challa and the rest of Wakanda do things moving forward. So he has a character arc in a way that doesn't usually happen. It doesn't go back to status quo. It's changed. He is changed. So I do appreciate the film for doing something like that. That rarely happens. Like when the Red Skull talked to Captain America, he didn't become a different person because of him. But Killmonger did change who he was.
Right.
Did change who T'Challa was. So I appreciate that about it.
Even more of a Killmonger movie. Gotcha.
All right.
Yeah,
To speak on him really quickly, what I enjoyed about him is that he, almost in a similar sense to Thanos, where like you could kind of understand where he was coming from and his motivations. Like his motivation wasn't like the typical I'm evil, I do bad things because I'm an evil person. It was, I thought I was done wrong, I have an injustice against me, my people have an injustice done against them, I'm going to rectify the injustices that were brought upon my people and myself.
Right. I would say along with that too. I mean, you have Michael B. Jordan, Sterling K. Brown, Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett.
Forrest Whitaker, multiple Oscar winners and nominees and Emmy winners. Some of the best acting actually in the MCU actually is in this film. So regardless of the actual action itself, the performances,
acting quality, they didn't get a lot of screen time though. Like Angela Bassett didn't do much to push the needle, of the actual narrative of the movie. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think she had.
She
two
was
lines.
there. She was great. Right. But exactly.
I think she had 2 lines. But that's why it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, I love Ryan Coogler. I think is a great director. He did my favorite film for 2015, which was Creed 1. So he's a great director. And Fruitvale Station is also a great movie as well. So
I still gotta watch Creed and Fruitvale Station.
But it's like for everything that was done physically, like actual not CG, like physically done, Black Panther probably had some of the best period there with all the costume design, set design.
Yeah. That's what they got Oscars for.
Right. Like everything that was practically done was magnificent, but everything that was not practically done, they half-assed.
Hey, we got the man himself has spoken up. My boy Craig. What it is, Craig?
What it do?
The man, the myth, the legend.
What it do? I'm sure. I know Craig will chime in here with his opinions on these movies. I know he will. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't. But yes, and that's a fair number 10, Dev, and that's my number 9. So yeah.
Right. So for me, I'm going to. Oh well, you didn't give your 10. Yeah.
My number 10 is probably gonna be Guardians 1. Guardians 1.
That's your number 10.
That's one.
Yeah.
Interesting. You're an interesting man, Otis. You walk soft and carry a big old stick. Okay. All right. Let's see you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's my number 10.
Hey Layla, thank you. The game that's being played today is Marvel's Ultimate Alliance. Is a game.
2.
From
That's 2, right?
That's
the
the
first
one.
one.
That's
It's the first one.
That's the first one. Okay, I know that was 2.
This is the one I really fell in love with. This game introduced me to a lot of the MCU stuff.
Okay.
But continue. I want to get on another tangent about the game. Otis.
Yeah. I Guardians 1. They hit a lot of good notes there. It's not. It doesn't have a lot of rewatchability for me, and everything going up. It's the movies are. I would turn on at least as background noise. We'll get into more discussion on it because I'm sure you guys. That's got to be in your guys' list here.
So it's in my top 5.
Really, Guardians is in your top 5. Okay.
So you can go ahead. You can go because today we're just splitting it up. You can go ahead and we can dissect it now, and I'll get into it later on some more too.
My issue with Guardians. It's just I don't know. It's I don't love the Guardians. I think that's more so what it is. Like I like Groot and I love Rocket and Drax are fun, but I've never been a big fan of Peter Quill. Gamora was just kind of to me. Like she's there and she does cool things in fight scenes, but like her as a character doesn't bring a whole lot to the dynamic of the team. If that makes any sense.
Right. Yes, they short shifted her in the movies as opposed to in the comic books. In the comic books, she is more of a G.
She's more stoic, right?
Oh yeah, like Gamora comic wise is a monster.
Yeah,
right?
She's much more of a character in the comic books. Much more.
But I mean, to be like, I have a low opinions on the Guardians because like Guardians 2 is probably like my 3rd worst movie in the MCU. Like I really don't like that movie at all.
I'm with you. That Guardians of the Galaxy 2 I wasn't quite sure what was going on in that movie. I mean, we're not talking about the top 10 worst right now, but yeah, Guardians 2 was definitely a misstep in my opinion.
Yeah, but I mean, Go ahead, sir.
No, it's not. I don't think Guardians may not be in my top 10. I don't think
I'm not disrespecting Zoe, Craig, and it's not even a shot at her. It's just the fact that how she was done in the movies. Like they didn't give her
character.
Like what does she add to the team? Like when it comes to like discussions or anything, like she knows the locations of certain things. Like like she knew where the Soul Stone was, and that was great. Like what does she actually give to the team? And I'm not blaming her for that. It's just like you don't set up a whole lot of spots in the script for her to interject something new into the team. Like
right. I don't think you really got a lot from her until Thanos popped up and came around.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanos made her character. Like she became a full character to me in Infinity War. I mean, not Infinity War. Well, yeah, Infinity War.
Basically Infinity War. Definitely wasn't too. But I mean, it is. I mean, she does have the whole idea with one of the big things with her character with Gamora is her relationship, but also with her sister Nebula, and then her father Thanos. All those things come later on in the films. But in the first film, her relationship with Nebula isn't that much a big deal, and also she is kind of like she almost seems resistant to be on the team, and she's not exactly a femme fatale. She's really a master assassin,
bro. She's a green character.
Yeah,
a green character.
Yeah,
stop it.
So,
the movie for me, I really although it's not in my top 10, I found it very refreshing. I love this movie. It was a breath of fresh air for the MCU because up until that point, things to me I thought started to get kind of formulaic.
It was pretty
fun. Yeah. So having especially when you guys know how much music is important to me in like anything. So having a movie that had like, I wasn't even a huge fan of music from like the 80s like that. Like I enjoyed those the songs from that era, but and I listen to quite a lot of them. But well, I ain't gonna lie, majority of the music I listen to is either modern day or like from the 60s and 70s. Like the 80s is kind of I'm in and out of there. With 80s is usually more rock for me anyway. But all that aside, the music was really well picked. And it
80s
was,
is rock. No Mike Jack, no Prince.
I don't really rock with Prince like that, dog. I mean, Prince is cool, but I'm a Michael dude. I don't lie. I'm a Michael dude. That's just me.
He's a kid. I mean, he's
Team Mike.
A kid.
I'm Team Mike. Well, even outside of that, like again, a lot of the R&B I listen to and stuff like that is from like the 60s, the 70s, or like the 90s. The 80s era for me is like it's cool, but the 80s for me is more.
I mean, technically, what you're saying describing is before R&B existed. That's soul.
Well, yeah, soul. Okay, so like Ray Charles, Etta James, stuff like that. It's soul. I mean, I count it as R&B because I count soul as like a preface to R&B. So to me, it's technically, but it's the whole. It's technicalities and semantics there with that. But yeah, the music was really well picked for that, and I thought.
Yeah, I agree. The music was a big part of what made Guardians of the Galaxy work. I mean, it was a whole playlist, and then
I mean, it ended with a dance off, so it had to be a big,
ended with the dance off. Yeah,
like
and James Gunn was a very different director than the other ones they had chosen. He pretty much had a very different style he brought to the film too.
Sam Jackson.
Sam Jackson,
he's perfect.
Yeah, he killed me, Gary.
I'm pretty sure they made like if I remember this correctly, the dude that created Nick Fury in the Ultimates comics made Nick Fury based off of Sam Jackson.
He did. Yeah. He did to the point later on when they because I think back in the day they told him that he said, "Oh, that's interesting, that's cool," and they kind of joked around, and said, "Hey, if we ever do a movie, we'd like to have you be." And he said, "Oh, sure, whatever." And then later on, they actually happened. He said, "Oh, wow, that actually came to pass." So that actually was a weird coincidence. It actually came to light.
Sam Jackson can do no wrong in my eyes. So
of course he can. So yeah, but real quick before because I know I'll save my real bigger thoughts for Guardians of the Galaxy later on. But what I agree with you saying that Devin, that it was a very different because this came in during phase. Was it 2? I guess later on in phase 2.
Phase 2 or 3?
Yeah, it's the phase 2.
3. I can't remember which phase it was.
I thought the second was phase 3.
I need to look at it. The
second one was part of phase 4. Yeah, we got to check. We definitely got to check.
No, it's not phase 4. Phase 4 is happening now.
Too many damn phases.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Phase 4 is now. Jesus.
Yeah. I think it was phase 2.
So
but I'm not entirely sure. But anyways, the movie itself, I didn't. What I enjoyed about it was that it was a team of individuals that were bickering and fighting, but it seemed very different than there was other films or in the MCU. And James Gunn's approach to storytelling and actually having character writing was different than we'd seen before. It wasn't as cookie cutter, wasn't as clean. It was something different. I of course have some problems with it. We'll get into that later on. We'll get to my list, but for now I'll just leave it there. Speaking of which, that dovetails nicely into my number 10. And my number 10 is actually, I had to do some changing around here, but my number 10 is actually Shang-Chi. Now, before you come at me, I enjoyed Shang-Chi. It was a fun ride. But that's your 9? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I put it that far down on the list, or yes, it's still half up from the bottom of the entire list, is because I love the beginning, like kind of the first half more so than once they go to that whole
the wushu, it fell off. But the beginning of that, oh man, before they got to the magical land, it was top tier.
Right, before we got to the magical kind of Avatar-esque land, it was like, what's going on here? It kind of really slowed down a lot. But I really enjoyed when I think Simu Lu. Yeah. That's inspired casting. I know he pretty much made that happen. He brought it, spoke it into power
a long time ago.
But way before it was even in anyone's minds. He made it happen. I love it. He's a great, fantastic casting. Awkwafina is a bit rough.
Don't get Otis started.
We don't got enough time for that. She is almost the reason why I didn't end up in my top 10 at all.
Yeah, she's a very, very acquired. She's kind of like black coffee. It's a very acquired taste. Over time, your tongue can get used to it, but it's not going to come easily. But I love watching Simu Liu do his thing. I love his relationship with his sister and even his dad and his mom. You got Michelle Yeoh in there. You have Michelle Yeoh in the movie. I'm going to give it some credit. I mean, we've all seen, or Otis and I have seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. My God.
Let's see it at some point.
So And the hands. This man
Oh
threw.
man,
Jeez, that bus scene.
that bus
so,
scene is
that bus
man.
scene
That's one of the best things
alone.
that they've done in MCU. One of the
Yeah,
best
it's
things
one
they've
of the
done.
best things. It's literally one of the best things they've done. So you have to give it the credit for that. I love also. I'm an old school. Using the dev measuring stick. Roughly one dev ago, they had the Rush Hour series began. I love there's a part where they're in it's Hong Kong, right, y'all? Where they're in Hong Kong at
Yeah.
his sister's fighting tower essentially, and they're on the
Mhm.
outside of the building using the bamboo kind of scaffolding to fight that
Yeah,
fight scene
Rush Hour
is very
2. Rush
much
Hour 2.
yes, in Rush Hour 2, right? It's right out of
Yeah.
Rush Hour 2.
With the
It's
bamboo
very
falling
much
down.
yeah, it felt like a Jackie. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Jackie Chan. It's a modern day Jackie Chan doing his thing. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of gave the credit that it put it that high on
Well,
my list.
for me, for that Shang-Chi's at my number 6.
Oh, you said okay.
Yeah, it's at my 6. Obviously, you guys know with me, I'm biased like in regards to like my favorite time periods to watch media. For anybody that is new to the podcast, my favorite time period and era in history to watch is like feudal era Japan, or kind of like anything that resembles that to me. Obviously, like you got a lot of that in some of the music choices, and obviously I'm a huge fan of Jackie Chan, and like Ethan said, that choreography is reminiscent of Jackie Chan stuff because the stunt team was people from Jackie Chan's original stunt team. So they literally
I
went
didn't
and
know that. I didn't
yeah,
know
I
that.
thought we talked about that for the review.
Yeah,
We did that
We
a long time ago.
might have.
Yeah, this
Did
is
we-
before Otis was on. This is when we were on Facebook still, just on Facebook. Is when we did
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah, but the stunt according to stunt choreography team is Jackie Chan's team, the head
Nice.
guy. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's why that's very reminiscent of that. And I thought like again for the same reason you guys said, I won't be reiterate what you guys said too much in regards to the bus scene. A lot of it, like I like that little training scene with him and Michelle Yeoh. Um, honestly, as bad as it seemed, I liked some of the CGI Dragon Ball Z stuff they had going on at the end. I thought it was entertaining to me.
It looked
Some of it-
nice, but
some of
like
it
it didn't
worked.
do much for the pushing the narrative. Like I feel like it was
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
a cop out having the mythical dragon come out at the end and not really letting the resolution between the father and the kids happen.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I thought
Yeah.
the dragon was because to me the dragon was intimidating to me. Like the voice was dope. Like seeing that huge CGI wall was like very like dark and scary and like to me that was one of the few cases where the final boss was kind of intimidating for me up until they beat him. Like he didn't
Well,
like
I guess
end up being a comic or being sarcastic. Like he was just evil and dark and intimidating up until you kill him.
well the thing about it is that he didn't really the
'Cause
dragon that you mentioned, the evil dragon, didn't have
it
much of a
worked.
personality. He was kind of just like a CGI monster that didn't talk much, didn't have much of a presence. The dad had a real personality, had a real presence, and then he wasn't the final boss, and it was just like some random dragon at the very end. It's almost equivalent to the sky beam in the air. It's like, well, what is this random, fourth act thing that I don't know or care about?
The key difference I will say to fight back on that point is that the dragon was the influence in the dad doing anything that he was doing to begin with.
It
So he
was,
was
but
there.
at that point, it was.
But no,
it was
he
a
came
voice.
into play after the mom died. It wasn't
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah. After my
But but it wasn't like we saw. The thing is, we heard the dragon's voice, or you heard that evil spirit's voice before the dad opened the doorway. Once the doorway was open, it was just a CGI dragon, and that was it. And it wasn't anything. The CGI dragon had no actual relevance or story with Shang-Chi. That wasn't an obstacle he had to overcome. It wasn't like Luke versus Vader, where there's some kind of personal attachment. However, Shang-Chi versus Dad, there was a real story there. That should have been the climax of the narrative, is him defeating that, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I would have preferred them to like team up to kill that thing, and then maybe I don't know, or maybe just move the dragon to a second movie or a sequel. I see what you mean with that one. I like the dragon, but I see your point on that. In regards to that.
Yeah.
But we all did our.
But it was still fun to watch. It was a fun fight, and I get you want spectacle. It is what it is. People want.
Right.
I guarantee there were notes that were given to them as far as we need a big spectacle here. This massive.
Pretty sure I didn't throw the dragon at the end.
We can't make another scene that looks as bad as any scene in Black Panther. That's what the goal was, my guess.
I care about the unsubscribe to the channel.
Well, part of it was though because of the pandemic, they had a lot more time to work on the post production and CGI for it.
Mm-hmm.
So they had an extra year or so to work on that. So which is why it does look a lot better.
Again, for like what y'all said, there are like 3 or 4 fight scenes that carry this movie really hard. Like for me, it's the fight scene between the mom and the dad when they first meet, when they're doing like the whole Wushu battle. Yeah. I'm like, that was hard. Like the fight choreography in the 3 or 4 scenes are elite.
Yeah.
Getting Yeah, so we've all done our 10s, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, so getting into number 9. My number 9 is Civil War.
That's
Civil
your
War,
number
my
9.
That's
Okay.
nine.
That's my
That's
number 9.
nine.
Damn.
That's my 6.
That's my number 9.
That's my Black Panther. When Chadwick Boseman in that was that dude.
He was that dude.
Right.
guy.
He was that dude.
Like
Yeah.
nobody wanted to smoke with him. He was chasing down everybody, throwing around everybody he needed to. He was that guy.
He was great.
That's my Black Panther.
And that was
He
his intro.
not that in the movie.
What
He was
Marvel
not that in
character
his own movie.
do you want to start in the show or movie?
Who's left?
Black one. I love to see Cloak and Dagger make a return. I love to see that. Either
Yeah,
recast
that's
or
picked
whatever.
up by MCU, yeah, for sure. I'm gonna
Yeah.
pick Robbie Reyes. Give me Robbie Reyes. I want him.
Robbie
Yeah.
Reyes. You know what? You know who it would probably be. It's no one's like my answer. So that's never mind. My answer's gonna be. My answer's gonna bum everybody out. Somebody can bother saying it right now.
No, go ahead.
You better say that shit.
No,
It's your podcast.
Well, what I was gonna say is Magneto. If they did like a younger Magneto, essentially, where you follow his.
Well, you know they're coming. You know that's coming. They're bringing back Xavier. You know he's coming.
So that I would follow that. Something because
Nah,
I know
if we get the development of Magneto from the
First class.
no,
but even
going all
before
the way
that,
back to the internment camps to
to go from being a Holocaust survivor to like really getting bitter and kind of it's almost like a Batman journey as far as like I'm trying to avenge all my people and I'm pissed off and the world hates me.
He's king of the comics not because he has so much comic knowledge of old stuff. It's just because he just makes better comics than the old
Most
stuff.
people.
We're progressing out here, Craig. We're going beyond the old.
well, that's fair. The thing is, Craig, too, here's the thing. It's almost like there's a lot of stuff they've already done as far as in the films and on shows. And it's kind of like, who is left? You're getting into third, like...
You're getting the deep cuts of Moon Knight.
Yeah, Moon Knight is pretty much... He's died multiple times in comics or has been discontinued multiple times.
Like a Monica Rambeau, like that's a super deep cut.
Monica Rambeau is a super deep cut, and she's already gotten a show or already been in a show too. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's if you want to bring up somebody, there's not a lot of people that haven't already appeared in shows and movies. That's why it's not.
Yeah, I mean, there's still quite a bit. I mean, and there's people that they alluded to that they were gonna come, like Adam Warlock is supposed to be showing up.
Right,
Nova.
Yeah.
I mean,
or Mephisto. You want to get? I mean, he's a villain, but I guess you could. Basically,
I gotta see it.
You could. I mean, I back in the day, I used to want one of the things I wanted more than anything was a proper Venom movie or show. That's something that they got fucked up.
They're gonna do it. They're doing Symbiote God. They're doing Null. They're gonna bring that.
I mean, they're going to do Null right when they eventually get to that, probably. But Venom is it's a dumpster fire at this point. It's never going to get good.
Once now that it's in the MCU, it might be. But
if they redeemed Andrew Garfield, anything's possible.
Pretty much, that's fair. They did redeem him. I mean, another one too.
Tom Hardy is not a bad Venom. It's just those are bad movies.
Those are bad movies. Yeah,
those movies weren't worse than the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
Yes,
I think they were.
No, oh my god,
I think they definitely were.
That Woody Harrelson is worse than anything that Jamie Foxx did.
So that Woody Harrelson's better than the comb over Jamie Foxx with the gap tooth.
I literally just said that.
Ain't no. I'm sorry.
I think Amazing Spider-Man 1 is better than Venom 1 or Venom 2. I'll put it that way.
Then the shitty Green Goblin.
What shitty Green Goblin?
He's talking about an Amazing Spider-Man 2.
No. Amazing
Spider-Man
I said Amazing Spider-Man 1. I think it's a better movie than either Venom or Venom 2. Because you said those Venom movies are better than any Amazing Spider-Man movie. I don't think they are.
I don't know, man. But that's just me. I have my own internal hate for them.
I mean, it just makes sense. And
they were just comically bad.
We're losers, Eddie. Like that doesn't hit for Venom, bro.
Those are not good movies. They are not good movies. Amazing Spider-Man 1 is at least a narrative. At least makes narrative sense as a start, beginning, and end. It's
that is not unpopular opinion. Jessica Jones was fired. That first season was top notch.
The first
season was top notch, bro.
She was great. Yeah, Jessica Ritter. Jessica Ritter was great. That's a great detective story. Also, I actually studied that because I'm working on a detective story. That's actually a really great case study in actual kind of noirish story.
Back to Civil War though.
Civil War.
Yeah. The reason I have it at my 9 is I just felt like, okay, so for me, the Civil War storyline in the comics was like one of my favorite things to see. So for the fact that They just like did not do
Very
almost
different
anything in
story.
that at
Very
all,
different
damn near. Even down to the Spider-Man suit, like I honestly I like the first suits. I don't like the Iron Spider suit. I really like the sleek design from like the Iron Spider suit from the comics. Like this, the red and the gold. I thought it was sleek. I thought it was simplistic. I felt like the new Iron Spider suit, the nanobots, was doing a little too much. They had like black, the blue, the gold, the red. It felt like a lot to me personally. And then getting into the story, I think the Civil War arc in the comics was supposed to be like, to me, that is damn near the end game almost for the movie. Like that's the thing where like everybody's relationships are being sprawled around. Spider-Man dies. If I remember right. Hulk
No,
gets
Cap.
shot with
Captain
stuff.
America gets shot.
Yeah, Cap gets shot. Yeah, because Spider-Man got killed. But Graviton in that Graviton fight, because he got laid out. They were carrying.
You're right.
Yeah, they were carrying
Oh,
his dead
right.
body.
I forgot
Yeah.
about that. Because he reveals who he is. And
Right, bodies were dropping, people were dying, stuff was going like that was the end game. So almost like Ragnarok, for them to take a story that's like so substantial, and then kind of like, I don't know.
I agree with you that they pulled the plug on Civil War way too soon. They didn't have enough established to make that hit the way it needs to. But we're grading the movie itself.
that's what I'm about to say.
Grading the movie itself, it was pretty well done.
Which is why I
this isn't a you can't, even though it's called quote unquote Civil War, this isn't about that. This is the MCU. This is the actual movie itself. So based on its own merits of the film, looking past the actual comic book, because also the Civil War comic book got a little kind of weird there too. It didn't quite nail the landing, in my opinion, either. So I might put that on a pedestal. But I think based off what the movie, what it was, and what it managed to do, this managed to bring in Black Panther and Spider-Man. Had to bring Spider-Man back. It managed to have set up an actual conflict between Tony and Cap that made sense with these characters revolving. It's a lot of spinning plates. They managed to do it all pretty well.
And like you talk about doing things different with script writing, the villain actually won in that movie, like 100%. Like Zayn Zemo accomplished every single one of his goals.
Mm-hmm.
And
another reason
tore the Avengers apart.
You know the biggest reason why I have it at 9? Because fuck Cap. This movie was when Cap did the most bullshit thing I've ever seen, where Otis, me and you are best friends. We've been working together for a while, right? Ethan is one of your old friends that you had a good bond with. You haven't seen in a while. I find out that Ethan brutally murdered my parents, and I see it on footage, on camera, and I want to beat his fucking ass. So instead of you just trying to break the fight up, you proceed to jump my ass and stomp me out like you jumped me into a game. And like literally,
that's not what happened.
The fact that you are reacting to it this way shows that they did good things in that movie. Like the fact that you have this emotional reaction to an event that happened on,
which is why it's in the top 10.
That was written, like that's good.
And that wasn't the comic books. That was not the comic books at all. It had nothing to do with that. But one thing I would say though is that I never saw it as Captain America saying, "I want to beat Iron Man." It's more or less, I want to keep Iron Man from killing. If, like you just said in that scenario you just had there, Charlie, that scenario you just had, let's say that I did do something heinous against you, and you were extremely pissed off, and Otis was aware of it, and Otis was trying to do is like, look, I completely understand why you're pissed off at Ethan, Dev. I get it, but at the same time, Otis is like, I don't want you to kill Ethan because of it. He's not trying. The idea is that Captain America wasn't trying to choose sides as much as trying to just keep both parties alive. That's how I always saw it. Granted, you may not agree with that, and many people didn't. But in the end, that's kind of what it was. And it's a hard. What would you do? If you're between a rock and a hard place, do you think he should just back off and let Cap kill off Winter Soldier?
No, I'd like let them fight. Like if he get it to me, it's like whenever when you're in high school, when you see a fight going on, people let the fight go on until a point where somebody's about to get really hurt, and then they stop the fight.
Fair.
Like,
okay, but like.
Fair. They like it's not just stopping the confrontation from happening. It's you proceed to tandem beat the shit out of Tony Stark. Like they're tossing his shield back and forth, stomping him. I'm like, yo, what? Like he's done.
They disabled the armor because I mean, if they had gone less than that, Tony would have just gotten back up and still keep shooting at him. I mean, I'm not going to like. Don't get me wrong. Like, I agree with you that Cap was grimy in how he handled things. Like he fucked that situation all the way up.
Yeah, he made lots of mistakes. He knows he made lots of mistakes. He knows he
but
did.
but yeah, like in that exact scenario, if you are trying to murder Ethan and I am the only thing that's standing between you and murdering Ethan, I'm going to stop you from murdering Ethan.
Yes, that's
And
how
vice
I see
versa.
it too.
And vice versa. If
of
Ethan's
course.
trying to kill you, I'm going to stop him from doing that too.
Stopping
Of
that
course.
entails you both beating the fuck out of me.
The thing is, if the way it's set up though is Iron Man was, I mean, he's basically a man of war. He would have destroyed Bucky,
Like, bro,
and Bucky
he
was just
took
trying to
his
get away. Bucky
arm
wasn't even trying to fight back
off.
really.
His arm was blown off. He was trying
Yes.
to murder that
He would have
man.
been done. It was toast. There was no coming back from that. There was no coming back from that.
Hey, I need Superior Iron Man to come back and just fuck Bucky up. I don't know. I'd love to see that do it. Anyway, continue because we're at nine.
But what I will say is,
I'll
I'll give it to you. I will give it to you though, Dev, that you actually, because I know we all know how much you hate Cap. We all know how much you hate Cap. My mom knows how much you hate Cap. But I give it to you for putting a movie that has Cap in it in your top 10. That's noble. I'll give you that.
Yeah, if it was just the Cap again. Honestly, one of his movies are probably in my top 5, and I'm pretty sure y'all know what it is.
Yeah, it's the same for all of us.
It stays there, like it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. But still, fuck him though.
Fair.
Continuing on, Fing Fang Foom makes an appearance.
There's
Another one that was wild as fuck that nigga was in there. Anyway, continuing on to our number 7s because
Wait, I think so.
Number 9 yet.
Wait, no. So no, Otis hasn't done his number 9.
My number nine was no, it was Shang-Chi.
You're okay. You're
So we did not. We're at 8 now. Then we're at 8.
We're at 8. So so now it's yeah, we're at 8. My number 9, of course, was Black Panther.
Right.
So we're at number 8.
So am I giving my number 8 or y'all? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
You start. Yeah. You do number 8.
My number 8 was Eternals. I had Eternals at number 8.
Interesting.
See, I didn't even think about that one. That honestly probably deserves to be somewhere around that.
It is not in my top 10. Not in my top 10.
For me, it was interesting. Again, it was refreshing because again, at that point, things were very formulaic. They did a good job at developing characters. Like for the one thing I will say, they probably could have not done as many characters, and it would have been a lot. You could have got more development. But for the amount of Eternals they had, I feel like each person got a pretty okay amount of development. Some got more than others, but I think some got a good bit. And then the ones that got the majority of the characterization in being I almost had Phobos, the black guy from Atlanta, his character, like
Brian Tyree Henry.
Brian Tyree, yeah. Scenes he had with like
Festos.
Fastos. He had powerful scenes, like again, like the Hiroshima scene was a powerful scene. There were really good, powerful scenes in this one. And the thing that's different from the Guardians to me is that you felt like they had a connection to me. Like I felt like they felt like a family more than like the Guardians did, because they've been together for hundreds of years, and you kind of felt that engagement in how they went about stuff.
So here's the thing about that, because I rewatched the movie on Disney Plus, and I thought about it. I talked about it to some people too, and it's because most people do not like this movie. They have problems with it. They broke down the structure, but the scene you just mentioned there with Festos, and he's dealing with some guilt he has about the bombing of Hiroshima and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because there's so many characters. I think it's 12 of them or 13. I can't remember how many actual Eternals actually are. There's a lot of them. And we're jumping around so much, we don't really get enough time to really get into it with these characters, and so we don't really see. It's almost like there's isolated incidents and pockets spread all over time and whatnot. So when Festos is feeling what he feels about Hiroshima, the audience isn't feeling it as much, and it's kind of like sometimes what happens is the bigger emotional beats fall a little flat in that sense. And so in the character, the lead, if you had to choose one. I can't remember her name, the one that has the kind of plant powers.
Not Cersei. Is it Cersei?
Cersei.
It may actually be Cersei. Yes, Cersei. She seems the most flat as a character. I know she's a good actor. She's a good actor, but she's kind of the most flat as a character. So, because this movie is meant to be trying to placate the idea of being emotional, like kind of like humans, and there's no real emotional connection or emotional beat there, doesn't work as well. Guardians of the Galaxy does that. Guardians of the Galaxy, you do feel something. Killmonger in Black Panther, you feel something for him a lot, more so than T'Challa. But in this movie, there's no one you really
appreciate it, Craig.
The closest is Festos, but other than that, it's not as much. So
to get into that, I feel like a lot of people didn't like that movie for a lot of the same reason that people didn't like WandaVision, because it was kind of outside of the box of what the norm was for MCU. At that point, again, people were used to the really big action set pieces and all that other stuff, which you had that to an extent with the Eternals. but it was a really slow burn, and you got a lot of that big action set piece stuff at the end, and it was a lot more of a. They tried to do a lot of more character.
Well, I just mentioned the problem I had too is with the characters. They had problems with the characters.
Right.
Yeah, I just said that. Yeah, I just mentioned.
Right. Plus,
Yeah.
I know the sex scene was like a big thing. I don't know how big of a thing it was. People talked about it, but I don't know if that was a huge thing. I don't know.
I mean, Ethan didn't mention that at all when he was going through his reasons against the movie. I do have to add on another thing to the what Ethan says going against the movie, and it's the fact that that particular movie, I feel like it raised more questions and answers within the grand scope of the MCU. Like they didn't actually like accomplish anything in that movie. Like it didn't. It introduced these characters, but like with where it ends, they're off doing this completely other thing that doesn't affect the rest of the world. When these are supposed to be these people that have been here on Earth protecting it, and they were supposed to be explaining why they didn't end up protecting it. And like it was, there's so many issues in this movie, which is why I can see why people will have things against it. But there are also a lot of positives too, because like I mean,
and there are positives. Yeah,
some of the cinematography that got in this bad movie,
it was a beautiful movie.
Oh my god, they
shot.
Yeah,
it's
one of the most beautiful.
Really well done.
Yeah.
And I'll say, like, in regards to why it was around, I feel like it was to introduce a new level of power in MCU.
Clearly, yeah.
With the Celestials, we'd never seen anything that power. Like we seen Thanos, but they're just exponentially stronger than that. So now we're at like a whole new tier of strong. Now I'm like, so how do they prepare for that?
Than him. I mean, they're not stronger than him. I mean, they're probably about the same.
It depends on how much they put. Because I know when we go off the comics, they're like exponentially stronger than him. Like they don't.
I'm talking about MCU.
And it made it seem like that to me because I don't know because we didn't really see.
We didn't. That's another thing. We didn't get to a full grasp of what all the Celestials can and can't do as much. It's a little still, it's fine. You don't have to do everything
because they're around. They've been around since the beginning of the universe. I'm pretty sure that's still the main story they have. So like they were around. I don't know if it was before the creation of the Infinity Stones or at the creation of them, but they're just as old, if not older, than the Infinity Stones themselves. And they're just as strong, if not stronger, because again they are born from planets. They're like at a Galactus level, above Galactus level tier.
They're same as idea as Galactus, more or less. But they're meant to be like the Titans from Greek mythology. That's the whole what the basis was originally back in the day we made them.
Right.
But yeah, those are the positives. I agree with what you just said there, Dev, and notice too. The idea is we are introducing a new whole level of intergalactic powers and things of that nature. And it's kind of fun to see that. And some of the shots, the cinematography in this movie was unlike anything else I've seen it before. Outside the MCU, it was a beautifully well shot film. The movie was directed literally by the person who won the Oscar for Best Director the year before. So Chloe Zhao. So she knows what she's doing when it comes to a camera. It was just that I think they bit off a bit more than they could chew, and it kind of.
I think we'll look at it differently going forward, like because with them setting up so much stuff and introducing characters like the Black Knight, that is going to be a significant part of the Midnight Suns going forward.
But like he was such a small part of that. Like I feel like when we get more of him directly, we'll be more excited about him then. Yeah. But like I'm not gonna go back to Eternals. Like Eternals.
I look at this like Iron Man 1 almost, in which like it was a fun event and it introduced a lot of stuff, and it was like the launching point. It was the launching point.
That was not a fun movie. That is not like it's a good movie, but it's not a fun movie.
Which one?
Eternals is not a fun movie.
No.
I'm saying I'm talking about Iron Man 1.
No. Well, you said it's like Iron Man 1. Like Iron Man 1 is an extremely fun movie. Like you can.
You mean as far as you compare it to launching off,
setting up like a launch pad, like
I got you. Yeah, I guess the thing is,
I mean, the first thing you said was fun. It's like, Eternals is not fun.
Yeah, it's not. That's not fun. But the thing about it was too, Dave. You mentioned obviously the Black Knight. This and the Star Fox shows up at the end during the post-credit scene. We're in. I know we're in Phase 4. I think it was Eternals beginning of Phase 4. Was that what happened?
Yeah, because it was the first movie back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe. Well, no, was that Black Widow? Or was the first movie?
You know what? Maybe Black Widow is back at the beginning of Fate, or maybe Shang-Chi. I'm not even sure. But whatever it was, the now that we're getting more and more into deep cuts, like Shang-Chi's a deep cut also, but we're getting deep cuts here. Black Knight and Star Fox and even the Eternals, these are deeper cuts with these characters, and it's kind of like we're not. The audience is also having a rougher time being as engaged by some of these characters and engaged by some. One of the best things that Marvel did back in the day was they chose a character that was most relatable in every way. Was Iron Man. It's a regular dude who's rich and builds something. Even if you're not rich and don't build stuff, you can understand that as a person, as a human being. That makes sense on some level to you. The Eternals, that's a wild ass story from start to finish, and dealing with those kind of characters and interacting with Celestials is a lot more to try to grasp. And I think that's kind of why it didn't resonate with so many people. So.
All right, but let's try to speed it up a little bit because we're getting close to end time here. That was my number 8. So what is your number 8?
Otis.
Otis.
Yeah,
number 8. And honestly, but I got Doctor Strange is number 8 for me.
Okay, so is that on my list at this? Okay, so you know what's funny?
That's my number 5.
That's my number 8 too. That's my number 8 as well. So perfect. So we can knock out our 8th number at the same time.
Yeah. Shit, that's my number 5. So we can get to
that. We'll revisit it next week when you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Cumberbatch he's probably like the best actor that is a main character in the MCU at this point. And, I mean,
I just said that.
He just does a lot of good things there. I mean, it follows the quintessential MCU
Speaking of
formula. Right, yeah, for perfect time. Yeah, like it's literally it is the peak of their formula, right? Like they have experimented with all those other movies. They come back to do another origin. You get Doctor Strange, you get the best actor. You have the formula to its maximum, and they just made a movie that made sense.
Yeah. For me, it was part of it was nostalgia because I think I've talked about it on the podcast before. When I was growing up and Blockbuster was still around, me and my mom would take me and my brother to Blockbuster, and the two things we would always get no matter what was the first season of Static Shock and the Doctor Strange animated movie. We would get those every time we went, and we watched the hell out of it.
That was good.
That animated movie to me it was very similar to the actual MCU movie to me. Obviously the origin story and how they went about doing certain stuff, and even just like the effects for the Doctor Strange movie, not the animated movie now, but for the main movie, the special effects were dope. A lot of the stuff they did, it was not iconic, but like that people do. Like I've seen millions of kids do like the hand movements and stuff like that, and like pretend to be Doctor Strange or whatever. Like there's so much in that movie that's dope to me, and it's aesthetically dope. The action set pieces were dope. The final, like even with the kaiju boss being Dormammu, it was ended in a very interesting way. I still would have preferred Mephisto, but that's just me. It's dope.
Save some stuff for next week when you actually hit your number 5, man.
I thought we were doing our 5. I thought we were doing this top 5 because we're doing it like 2 parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so we're doing like first 5 and the last 5.
If you say this is the bottom, this is the bottom 5. Doctor Strange is number 5.
Yeah. I'm tweaking.
Yeah, it's all right, but it's all right.
But yeah, I was intentionally keeping it vague because you said you wanted to move along.
Yeah, my bad. I'm tweaking. I was doing the top 6 and not top 5. That's my bad.
Yeah, because we're gonna stop at 6 today. That's the idea. Yeah. But it's all right, Brody. It's all right. I'll keep it short then. With my number 8, I agree with everything both of y'all said. I do think you probably would just say that ultimately Ben Cumberbatch and Robert Downey Jr. are the most 2 iconic, like. They are their characters. There's no, I can't, because I still read MCU comic books and everything. I cannot read a comic book with Iron Man in it without seeing Robert Downey Jr.'s voice. I cannot read a comic book that has Doctor Strange in it and not hear Cumberbatch's voice, even though it sounds kind of weird at times. It's just, they're one and the same. I love how the idea of Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange in the movie, it shows very much that he is a very egotistical kind of a socialite in a very different way from Iron Man, but they're still 2 sides of the same coin. And when he's humbled in the same way that Iron Man was humbled, how he lashes out in a very different way. He's completely kind of a monster. It's just to see a man. I imagine all 3 of us have had to deal with having something that humbles us in some way. And had to deal with depression and suffering and strife. And to see someone like go through that to go through a real massive dose of that, and what ends up happening to them. Was fun. It was engaging. Of course, the special effects were fun. The villain was kind of short-shafted, but it was fun to watch these things. And I love that the movie. My favorite point of the movie actually is the very end, when Doctor Strange doesn't actually beat Dormammu. All he does is beat him to a standstill, where Dormammu just decides to leave. Ultimately, after Doctor Strange probably dies, I don't know how many thousands of times, painfully each time, but he goes through it over and over again. And then and then the thing is too, his hands never do go back to what they once were. They're still shaking. He's still, in some sense, a broken man. Even though he has the power to travel through time and space, he still has messed up hands. So those are things that kind of made me really.
I'm just like in my head, I'm like, nigga, fix your hands, bro. You can
I don't,
go to dimensions or whatever. I'm like, just fix your hands, bro.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different thing.
But anyways, that's my.
Yeah. So that's your number 8. 7. So you guys said you had both same number 8. So one of number 7. My number 7 was Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming is my number 7.
Number 7.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Really?
Yeah. Really.
Now, obviously, Otis and I had that both higher on our list, but. Okay.
Yeah, for me.
Oh, he's a Homecoming. My bad. He's a Homecoming.
Homecoming doesn't get on my list.
My bad. I was thinking of No Way Home. My bad. I'm drunk.
Oh, yeah.
I've been drinking.
Far From Home. That's
or No Way Home is the one.
Oh,
I'm thinking of.
Am I tweaking? No, it is
Far From Home.
That's the one they went to England, right?
Yes, that's the one.
Far From Home, not Homecoming. My bad.
Hey, Zai, how you doing?
How you doing, Zai?
Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. New faces.
Nice name. Okay, so
Far
Dev,
From Home,
you said
Homecoming. Far From Home.
The second one in that trilogy.
Far From Home is your 7.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go.
Wow.
For me, that whole not almost like Mephisto, that whole Mysterio relationship that he had with him. Yeah. I feel like the action set pieces, like especially when he's like the train track area where he's in the illusion where he's getting jumped. Like the action set pieces were dope to me. I love the relationship he had with Mysterio in the sense that he's looking for another mentor because he lost one, so he's like desperate to find that. And then that trust, like you see such like growth in development of Spider-Man himself. You see the relationships grow a little more with him and MJ. You get the action set pieces. You're in beautiful, cool new environments, and then you have concepts being introduced with like the multiverse. But even though it wasn't really that, but it's been introduced. I thought it was dope. I really like that movie. Then obviously, I think the jokes are kind of I like that.
So I think there's a lot of the things you mentioned that you liked. I loved Jake Gyllenhaal's performance as Mysterio because it feels very much like a Quentin Beck huckster that's very true to form, especially older Quentin Beck. I enjoyed that scene. That one scene especially, I watched multiple times. The part when Mysterio reveals himself to Spider-Man, and he has to go through it. And he gets on near the train tracks, and that's a whole big thing. It's very, very well done. It's like the highlight of that film by far.
So Spellbound.
What up, Spellbound? How you doing?
New faces, man. I love new faces.
Those ladies from Apologetically Awkward. They stream to Bag every Saturday.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Interesting.
Love it. You're welcome aboard.
Well, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you for showing the love.
Definitely appreciate you. Come back again. The problem, some of the problems I have, and I'm not going to belabor this too much though, but some of the problems I have with the film are, it seems like the MJ Spider-Man or Peter relationship kind of came out of nowhere. It's like, wait a minute. The last time we saw him with MJ in the first film, they were nowhere near being interested in each other, and now they're head over heels.
He was all on Liv.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what's that? And then also the idea that Spider-Man is aggressively trying to be retired from being Spider-Man. The movie took about 25 minutes to get going. 25 minutes of like kind of them running around in Europe, doing whatever they're doing, and before Spider-Man finally puts on the suit and does anything. And I get the idea. It's supposed to be he's depressed after losing Tony, but it's a bit of a slog. It's a little rough. So it's not. And you mentioned the jokes. I don't think Spider-Man. One thing I love more than anything else in the comic books is his quips. I don't think he has a single quip in this movie.
Oh, I mean his jokes. I just been everybody like a lot of the Sam Jackson quips and jokes were funny to me.
Some of Sam Jackson's jokes were funny, but JB Smoove, Hannibal Buress, and what's his name, Martin Starr, their jokes were not.
Yeah, Hannibal Buress didn't really do it for me. I ain't gonna lie.
So that's why the movie kind of was like, this is a weird John Hughes-esque type of thing that didn't quite land as well for me. So it's not one of my favorites. But I respect your choice, obviously.
Yeah. To hit the MJ thing real quick, I just assume like if you show Mary Jane Watson in a movie and there's no Gwen Stacy around, I just assume or no Felicia Hardy. I'm like, that's
not Mary Jane Watson.
He's got like Spider-Man's had Gwen Stacy,
but they haven't showed up though.
Liz
Tyler.
Yeah,
Liz Taylor. I think it's Taylor.
That was really a short-lived one though. Like even in the comics, that was really short. The live one was really short-lived. Like if you don't show me Felicia Hardy or Gwen Stacy, I'm like, oh, that's the obvious choice. Like it's going to be Mary Jane at some point. Granted, I do see what you mean as far as it coming out of nowhere. I just was waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
Sure. We're on 7 now. So, Otis, have you give your 7 yet, or either one of you, one of your 7s? I don't really. Either one of you, I don't really care.
My 7, honestly, before I used to have this movie a lot lower, but watching it recently, seeing how much like how fun it is, and seeing how the characters have gone to develop into what they become later, I'm gonna put Age of Ultron number 7 actually.
Interesting. Okay. I don't hate that. I don't hate that movie either, to be honest. I really don't. That movie got a lot of hate back in the day. My God, that movie, like, people were angry about it.
All right.
But people had kind of a reversal of opinions. But you go first. Oh, this is your choice.
I mean, the monologue that Ultron has is one of the best scenes a villain had in the entire MCU to me. Like, when they're at the party and they're over there trying to lift the hammer and then he just comes out stumbling. Like that was top tier for me. I really like I can't remember the actor, but I always know him as the
James Spader
from James Spader. But like he just had some great dialogues as Ultron. I loved the introduction of Wanda and seeing how she goes from being Ultron's pet to becoming becoming an Avenger essentially. Like it's just a lot of good things in there. Like that, I feel like kind of get underrated. Like the banter between the Avengers was actually really fun. That entire movie.
Yeah, because it was fun to see them actually. Because this is the movie where they start off as a team and they start off working together, and it's fun to see. This is when Joss Whedon was actually really feeling himself, was actually having fun with the script and everything. And that assault they have in it's not Siberia or wherever it is. It's that snow base they go to, right? They had a lot of fun. You can tell he had a lot of fun writing that stuff. Yeah, language. It's fun jokes, actual funny jokes that were in there. And the party scene was actually great. I love the idea how there's the massive, one of the best plants and payoffs in all of MCU with the whole hammer thing. And later on, when Vision picks it up, it's like and everyone just stops dead in the tracks. Like really, we realize, oh yeah, he actually is worthy. A lot of good stuff. And also, I would say this. I said this back in the day. People came at me like crazy. I like Ultron as a villain in Avengers 2 more than Loki as a villain in Avengers 1. I know everyone loves Loki. Loki's a great character.
I agree.
But the thing, I know Ultron is very, very different in the comic books. In the comic books, he's much more stoic. Like a Terminator. I get it. But James Spader's personality was so larger than life and interesting. I couldn't get over how he was very charming and charismatic, but also nefarious and very
terrifying. The way his mood would swing and you just cut off old dude's arm. I like that. Like seeing the instability in the character that's supposed to be a program. Like I feel like that was an interesting turn of character, honestly.
Yeah. So thanks, Craig. I appreciate that, by the way.
So for the same this movie is not in my top 10 for the same reason, both reasons that both of you guys brought up. That monologue was so exponentially above anything I could have ever wanted for that character. Like again, a lot of the early Marvel stuff I saw was a lot of Ultron content, whether it was like the Young Avengers stuff they had going on. Like I felt like that was perfect Ultron. What dipped that for me was by the end of the movie, he felt like another version of Loki by the end. He turned into like another version of Loki and Tony Stark. He's making quips now. He's like whining all the time now. Like he went from like a robot finding sentience to being a clone of his creators. Is what it felt like. He felt like a Tony Stark. Like they tried to make him a Tony Stark clone, and he literally like they make quips about him being. They make like I'm pretty sure they make quips about him being a child and being a teenager. Like I'm like, why is Ultron making quips back and forth? When does Ultron ever make quips back and forth?
I feel no, you're not.
I mean, the Ultron before that was made by Ant-Man. Yeah, like that's Hank Pym is a much more stoic character than Tony. So like, I mean, I guess that scenario he adapted some of his personality there. This scenario they adapted some of Tony Stark.
It just felt weird for me for you to have like a robot story of like something that's not alive and it's gaining sentience and wanting to control things to then turn into a comedian. Like it felt like a huge tonal shift by the end of the movie. Like it didn't feel like the same.
But
movie.
You're not alone. That's one of the biggest complaints most people have, and you're right. It's definitely there, and it does kind of get a little too far into him feeling himself. And I give you that, but it was still very entertaining to watch. I guess
Right.
part of what I liked also was his relationship with Vision, as far as we're dealing with artificial life, or I mean, if you can have artificial sentience, if that even exists, but what it means to be alive, what it means to have opinions and drive and motivations, and exploring that is some of the best sci-fi. So seeing it from two different perspectives, where one thinks that man has no right to exist because they are too destructive, and one thinks that man does have a right because they are still learning, they're still trying.
Right.
So anyway,
It's like just outside of my top 10. It's like 11, 12, somewhere around there.
no,
The thing is, like, even when I was I used to hate that movie, right? Like, I used to find so many issues with it just because I was constantly getting a comparison between the MCU and the comics, the MCU and other reference material. But like sitting and watching that movie as a movie itself, and seeing how it that's the only movie in the entire MCU universe where the team actually works as a team the entire time with minimal issues. Like
the first one?
Avengers 2.
No, I'm saying they didn't work as a team in the first one.
At the end,
the first one, they were
only
dysfunctional. They hated each other, and then they ended up like banding together midway through that fight because like Hulk had already jumped out the plane.
Right.
Like they were all like, and that was Loki's goal there, like to keep them separate. Like, and he accomplished that until the end. They came together and
that last fight, they were like in sync. Like they're doing tag team.
But that was the end of the third act, though, Dev. Like, what Otis is saying is that for a majority of the film.
Yeah, I see your point. My only gripe is it just felt like two different movies. Like the tone wasn't consistent for me.
No, I get that.
Yeah, if they would have kept that same dark tone, and like to me, you can have all those monologues with Vision and have all those dope conversations without him just making jokes and whining.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that was something that kind of bothered me about Loki, was that he was whining so much. Like, I can't stand whining. It's like, stop whining. People stop whining.
That's my problem with majority of the MCU villains, that they always have a good start. Like they're always intimidating and have like good aesthetics and how they are, and then by the end they turn into like another version, literally like evil versions of the Avengers. I'm just like, why are you making jokes, bro? You're trying to murder half the universe right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We say what you want to say about Killmonger. He never whined. He's like, nah, I'm good.
He's like, yeah, you
gonna
just
like, kill me here, bro.
Yeah,
dump off in the sea. I'm good.
That's why he's probably like, to me, one of the best.
He's the second best villain in the entire MCU.
I would say Thanos.
Yeah. Thanos didn't really whine. He just accepted stuff. He was like, yeah, okay, cool. I won already, so what you want to do?
Yeah. Okay, so I know we're going to move on here, y'all. So my number 7 found. Did I already say it? Maybe can't see here. I'm sorry. Here it is. We can be real. Let's try to keep this under an hour. This part right here. This one. I'm saying just number 7. Let's try to keep this under an hour. Right? Y'all ready?
No, Cap actually put up a nice fight up against Loki. He didn't just toss him around. That was not a going back to Avengers 1. Yeah, that was not a one-sided fight there. Loki won, and he should have won.
Yeah, he's supposed to win. Yeah.
Plus, by that point, I think he fought Ultron. He's fought all kinds of crazy shit by that point. So he's probably
no. In Avengers 1, he hadn't fought Ultron yet.
No, I'm saying by the time he got to Thanos, like he had been fought all kinds of crazy shit by that point.
Yes. We're talking about the Craig's coming here.
Yeah. They had Sabretooth in this game and Venom. See, I didn't have the DLC characters because I was poor, so I didn't have any of that. So the people in the back row, they were
delightful. Were they DLC? I thought they were.
Yes. No, so
did they do DLC that much back in 2005?
Yeah, so that second row with like Ghost Rider and all them, they were cheat codes because I had a cheat code book with all the codes.
That's right. That's DLC. Yeah. I think it's cheat codes. Yeah,
that back row with Hulk and them, they were DLC because I had the cheat code book and got
Hulk was for sure in that game. Like,
Hulk, bro, not that base game, bro.
Hulk? How could you not have Hulk in the?
Yes,
he was. I promise you, he was not. Because I wanted him bad. I was looking up on the internet how to get him.
We have to move on. We're literally on your time. We have 2 more to go. We have to go.
Promise you.
I love that. That's what we're talking about is Hulk, because my number 7 is Thor Ragnarok. Again, keep it short. We have to keep it short. We don't have time to go forever and ever. My number 7 is Thor Ragnarok. I'm calling it Thor Ragnarok, not Hulk Ragnarok, because I like Thor in the movie. I thought it was funny. I thought it actually worked. Y'all say that it's too much of a joke to actually make any sense. There are definitely there's levity in the movie, yes, but there actually is some gravitas as well. When Thor's daddy dies, he's not making jokes. When Thor actually loses his eye to his sister, he ain't making jokes.
Let's leave that there for a minute. Let it sit there for a minute, Otis.
So I know you guys hate the movie. I respect that. but I really enjoy it, and I think it made Thor a lot more of a likable character. So, I mean, think about it, Thor or
I
Chris
think
Hemsworth's character in
the movie that made Thor likable to me was Infinity War. Also, like he was that dude, and he was the star of the show besides Thanos to me in Infinity War. Thor killed him.
He was to you guys, but again, most people really, I mean, people loved Ragnarok. I know you guys didn't. That's perfectly fine, but most people really got on board with Thor in Ragnarok. Also, what Ragnarok did really well is it humbled him too. He was. I know Thor 1 has where he loses his hammer, but he's still very much a prince and gets it back at the end. This movie actually really took him down several pegs. I mean, he was made human and made kind of, fun. They made him fun. They made you want to hang out with Thor more. So I actually, liked him.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I got nothing to say about it. I've ranted about it.
Yeah, I know. We probably should move on anyways. You actually did a whole special on it before, so we can move on.
Yeah, I don't got a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, nigga, yeah. Doom, Sabretooth, Magneto, they were not like whole DLC. I promise.
Right.
I swear to God. I swear to God.
All right, I'm moving number six.
Yeah. My number 6 was already Shang-Chi. We already talked about my number 6. Y'all's number 6 is what were they?
Yeah, my number 6 was Civil War.
Okay.
You talked about which that's it's a good movie, so that's a lot of fun. My number 6 is actually what I thought Deb was saying earlier. So that's No Way Home. My number 6 is No Way Home.
That's your 6?
God damn.
It's my 6. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's higher than 6 for me. That's higher than 6.
Yeah, bro. That's top 5 for me.
I'm sure it is for a lot of y'all. And I think I actually really like the movie. I do genuinely like the movie a lot, but it still has, again,
it has some flaws. It for sure has flaws.
It has some flaws. Part of what it is
I rated it the lowest out of all of us, actually.
Probably. I think what it boils down to for No Way Home is that it's not. One of the things I loved most about the earlier Spider-Man films, especially Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, is the dynamic cinematography of feeling like you're actually Spider-Man web slinging, that kind of stuff. There's not a lot of dynamic cinematography in the film. The way that they direct it is very kind of almost flat. And the way they represent Peter as a character, again, he doesn't have any quips. He's just this universe's Peter is very much a just basic character.
He is the least personality Spider-Man out of the 3.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I will say it's probably just for the fact they had him do so much with other people. Like even his intro, he was with 6, 7 other characters, and I feel like he got significant amount of development in his own movies. And even in that movie in particular, he was there with 2 other Spider-Man, and they had to kind of they had to redeem Andrew. They had to reintroduce Toby to a lot of people. There's a lot going on in that movie, and then you get all the villains on top of that too.
Well, I appreciate all the dramatic scenes he has, but as far as his personality, anytime the Russos had him in their films, he had personality. If you think about his introduction in Civil War, he actually has where he's talking about how Cap's shield doesn't look like physics.
Bro, Infinity War. He was the third best player in that. The third best character in that.
Plenty of quips. He's talking about y'all got
in
a really old movie.
Yeah.
In his own movie, no personality, not near as much personality. He definitely has he's crying and makes the tears, that kind of stuff. But
it's the writers.
Yeah, even development, I feel like the most development he had as a character was in Far From Home for me. Getting that independence.
He has development,
being his own hero.
But he has a hero's journey and things like that nature. But I'm saying it's his personality when it comes to him actually seeming like you're upset because Ultron didn't have kind of the stoicism and kind of the didn't deliver on the pathos of being Ultron. I had issues because this Spider-Man he just seems too
flat. He's so serious. He's the most serious Spider-Man.
Well, look at some of the bigger comics he's been in. Spider-Man, was from whether it's the Death of Gwen Stacy, the Venom stuff. He was serious in those comics.
He always had bars. Spider-Man always had bars.
That's his thing. He always makes some kind of joke. He's supposed to be 17 in this movie. I think 17 or 18. When Spider-Man was in his prime in the early days, he made jokes like crazy. That was how he dealt with things. So for him to have no jokes, none.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
And again, it's not. I love this movie. I do love this movie. I give it a 9 in our review. I love this movie, but it's little things like that that kind of keep it from being in my top 5. It's not my favorite. It's not nowhere near my favorite Spider-Man movie. It's just it's just little things like that that keep me my top 5. I enjoy the film. I definitely enjoy it. It still has a lot of, like you mentioned, it's a lot of fun seeing him with Andrew and Toby. It's a lot of fun seeing the other returning villains. It was great seeing the action. The action in of itself, though, still, for the most part, still fun to watch, even though sometimes it's kind of flat. But it's just that some of those details throw it off from being in the top 5 for me. That's all.
All right. Now again, I think that's it, right? Because we done 6.
I think
There
both
was
y'all did your
6.
6 already. Yeah.
That was 6. So yeah, we're done. I mean, because I already said my 5 was Shang-Chi. Oh yeah, Otis from earlier, the Skrull homeworld. I forgot about that. They went to the Skrull homeworld for places that were in this game. Yeah, random tangent. We were talking about all the wild random places they had you go through in Ultimate Alliance to introduce you to
I
stuff.
really didn't know what the Scroll homeworld in this game. Had no idea.
Skrull homeworld, Mephisto's dimension, the Frost Giant and the Frost Giants arcades, Murder World, a lot of different wild shit.
I must not have finished 1. I thought I finished 1. I must have.
I played this game. I beat this game at least 10 times.
You might have had a little bit of exhaustion for these because, this is after the X-Men Legends games too.
Yeah, X-Men Legends. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't this Activision also? Activision
Yes.
Yeah, the same people that made these games. Yeah.
Yeah, it was dope. Again, this game made me a Marvel fan.
Right on.
Yeah. So for everybody that was here for the whole time, thank you, Craig specifically. For everybody else that were new faces, thank you. If you are watching this and you want to see more of our content and more of what we do, whether it's debates, reactions, maybe other movie essays, things of that nature, you can find it at the Then and Now podcast on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Come tune in. We really appreciate that.
Otis, give you a shout out to your book.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
I have a whole comic that is finished. Briarlands issue 1 is done. It is completely done.
It's done.
We're getting ready to set up for the launching of it at May 29th at Hip Hop Anime Gaming event in Skokie, Illinois. So
Keep talking.
more
Give me a
details on
second.
that from.
Yes. It's
He's gonna play that. Ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis. So I'm pretty sure that's coming.
No, you don't.
Yeah, but I'm very, very proud of Otis and Stan for putting that book together. Congratulations, buddy.
I'm happy for you for writing it. You wrote it.
You're right. Y'all's idea, man. Y'all's idea. So yeah, that's it. Cool deal.
Talk for a couple seconds.
Let's see something else. Is there anything else from
this?
For people that are interested? That's what the cover looks like.
Yes,
that's
it.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Right there.
Drawn by Gustavo, one of E's writers for Echelon. You see the Echelon, right. You know what I'm saying, thing there in the corner. Yeah, man. Right, Briarlands is a real thing.
I'm ready to pick this up.
It's real.
I can't wait to read this.
It is a real, very real book. Yeah.
So we got, again, dope shit coming. If you guys are interested in any of the content we as individuals have or us as the collective have, again, you can find it here or anywhere anywhere you can find us on the Now podcast. Whether it's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Music, Stitcher, Google Play. We do it all. So thank you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Then and Now podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
I still got to buy some, Craig.
Oh, yeah.
I spent a lot of money trying to get this comic together, bro. I ain't gonna
We'll let you know ASAP, Craig. We got you.
We will get the merch soon. Between both of us financing comics and like money we spent getting the merch together and people getting promo, we did not have money to buy the merch ourselves.
We're
strapped for cash. I'm getting the whole Then and Now fit soon.
Yeah, but we'll get you. We'll hook you up, Craig. We got you, Craig. Don't worry about that.
Craig's first one to get merch. Greg had merch before we had merch. That's great.
Right.
He literally did, actually. Yeah.
But yeah, this has been another episode of the Then and Now podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Poutini.